Hello and welcome back to my room. We've had a lot of fond memories here. A while back, I had a ghost pepper and suffered for your entertainment. We also talked in depth about how to build muscle. Today, we're going to be discussing something that is also going to be leading towards the more informative, educational side of things on how to learn almost any new skill that you can think of faster and more efficiently. For those of you who are new or don't know who I am, my name is Ryan. I am a content creator aspiring to be famous and well-known around the world for my goofy personality, my willingness to constantly
What am I saying?
constantly grow and learn, and also my desire to help people like you do the same, to become better versions of yourself mentally, physically, emotionally, whatever the case may be. I like to put out videos that can be funny, relatable, make sure people have a good time, motivational to really push yourself towards achieving your goals if you have any, and also informative, putting out information that you can use to your benefit. And today it's going to be one of those informative kind of videos related towards psychology. The best way I feel like we can really segue into this topic is to talk about gym fails. Have you ever seen those videos where people are lifting a ludicrous amount of weight, or they have some of the worst technique you've ever seen? We're talking somebody who is trying to deadlift the whole car and their back is rounding like a rainbow, or somebody's leg pressing and their legs literally bend backwards. It feels uncomfortable just talking about it. Have you ever seen those videos and felt that kind of sensation in your body that is connected with the person you're watching? I probably haven't worded that like nearly as well as I could have, but for instance, that person that is literally breaking their legs, did you feel as if your legs were breaking yourself? Or when you're watching that person deadlifting, did you feel as if your back was rounding too? I'm not sure if that's a sensation or a phenomenon that you've experienced, but it's definitely one that a lot of people have. And the reason being is because of two words: mirror neurons. Now, what exactly are mirror neurons? To discuss that, I think it's better to first talk about what exactly are neurons. And these are cells in the body that both transmit and receive information. We have a lot of neurons in our body, throughout our body, in our brain especially. When I say a lot, I'm talking billions. So a lot of information being received and transmitted as well. That's a very oversimplified explanation of things. I am not a neuroscientist. I don't study the brain for a living. I'm just a dude in my room talking to myself. Nothing to see here. When it comes to neurons, there are various types of neurons. One of which is sensory neurons, which is primarily involved in terms of receiving information in our environment through our senses, whether it be sight or touch or hearing. We touch a hot stove and the sensory neurons are responsible for telling us this stove is hot, this stove is painful. We have another kind of neuron that is called motor neuron, and that is responsible for movement. That's the neuron that's telling us we should move our hand away. We also have another kind of neuron called interneurons, which is kind of like the bridge between the two, that is responsible both in terms of receiving and transmitting information. And one of the interneurons that we are gonna be highlighting in this video is mirror neurons. Cool part about mirror neurons is that they activate both when you're committing an action and also when you're watching somebody else perform that same action. If you watch somebody throw a punch and you throw a punch yourself, mirror neurons are actually firing both when you're watching somebody else do that movement and when you yourself are doing that movement. That's cool and all, but I don't want to get better at punching people. I am a peaceful individual. I am a pacifist. I don't like to fight. I am not a fan of violence. Why would I want to learn this? If you are that person, that's totally fair. I don't condone unprovoked violence. I think it can be necessary in terms of self-defense or protecting someone, but that's besides the point. I think I'm getting a little bit sidetracked. What you really have to understand is mirror neurons are firing pretty much any time that you are observing someone perform of physical action. And what that means is when it comes to picking up a skill that requires some kind of physical movement, you can use mirror neurons to your advantage in terms of learning almost any new skill that you can think of. If you want to get better at a certain exercise, like learning how to squat, look at someone who is actually good at squatting and see their technique. See how wide their arms are, or how far their hips are, or I mean their legs, not their hips. And then also noticing that their knees are constantly pushing outward, their feet are angled outward as well, right? They're constantly breathing into their stomach instead of their chest. Your brain is able to pick up on all those little nuances, and it allows you to form a mental blueprint of sorts that will enable you to better perform that movement physically in the real world. It doesn't have to apply to exercise though. It can be something like learning how to play a new instrument. If you want to get better at learning how to play the piano, like a very close friend of mine, you can watch someone who's an expert or a professional at playing the piano and seeing the little nuances with their finger movements, and constantly seeing maybe their head is not constantly moving, but their eyes are constantly darting back and forth to make sure that they're hitting the right keys. If I were to play a new instrument, it'd probably be drumming. I mean, I already have the hair for it. If I want to become a better drummer, I would watch someone else who is experienced with it drum as well. Another example could be public speaking. If you want to get better at speaking publicly or presenting, you can watch people performing some kind of TED Talk or a presentation to a large audience, and then really seeing what exactly allows them to be an effective public speaker with their cadence, with their hand gestures, with their facial expressions. How come they are so good at speaking publicly? You will be able to pick up on that passively with mirror neurons, with observation, with paying attention. A big revelation I had recently is that the people who are able to excel at a particular kind of skill are the ones who are both practicing that skill actively, which is the most important. It doesn't involve just learning actively, but you also got to learn passively as well. You also got to spend time thinking about what you're trying to get better at outside of doing it. If you want to get better at running, you can't just only think about running when you're actually running. You also got to think about it outside of that, when you're going to work or like going to sleep. Like if it's something you actually feel passionate about and you really want to get better at, you have to have some kind of time you're devoting towards learning something passively. And that's why I think mirror neurons are actually so freaking cool, because it allows you to be able to pick up on a new skill that you want to get better at in a passive way, rather than just an active way. You can't learn a skill 24/7. There have to be periods of time where you're resting, where you have other commitments in your life that you have to attend to. In cases where you have some downtime, you're perhaps having some lunch or you're just chilling at home, you know what, let me just check out this TED Talk and see how come this person is such a good speaker, or let me just check out this fight and become a better fighter, or you know what, you want to spend a random afternoon learning how to get better at juggling. I want to learn how to get better at juggling. I think it's a pretty cool skill, and if I really want to commit to it, I would spend a lot of time watching people do it while also doing it myself. It's complementary towards your learning process. The way that I've been doing this myself is watching videos of people doing jujitsu or people fighting in the octagon, you know, UFC fights or one championships or that kind of thing. And I'm able to passively learn the kind of movements and the footwork you need to be a good fighter, in terms of making sure you're keeping your guard up and being able to block strikes effectively. That's just a personal example for me. But like I said, not everyone's trying to be a good fighter. And that's why I think it's really cool, because mirror neurons aren't limited to just those kind of movements alone. It can involve getting better at drawing, getting better at dancing, getting better at cooking, at public speaking, you name it. The application is almost endless. I really hope you got something valuable out of this video. I think it was something really cool. I've been feeling pretty motivated recently, and I felt inspired to share this with some of you out there who perhaps have your own aspirations or goals to learn some kind of skill, to get better at something. And I think something like mirror neurons can be a great way of utilizing that to your advantage. I really hope you enjoyed. Feel free to like and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. And also let me know down in the comments, how do you plan on using mirror neurons to your advantage? How are you going to use it to learn whatever kind of new skill that you feel passionate towards getting better at? I'd really love to hear your thoughts. So with that said, I'll see you in the next video.